What's going on, everyone? So, Scream 7 is supposed to be a Sydney-centric film. It's supposed to really focus on her and her family. It's supposed to have that family dynamic. But it is also rumored to be the beginning of, hopefully, a new trilogy centered around Sidney Prescott, right? The idea was around Sam and Tara. Obviously, they departed. The safest route to kind of continue doing these Scream movies was to bring back Sidney Prescott. And more likely than not, they're going to kind of lay the foundation to kind of tell a new story with Sydney as well as her family, right? Something that I've talked about heavily is, when it comes to Sydney's kids, you can have them be pretty much whatever age you want, because we have no idea about the kids other than the one in the stroller. Obviously, the one in the stroller be a little tough to all of a sudden be 16, but for the other kids, right, her daughters that she mentions, right? Well, she doesn't mention the age. She just says that she has to take them to school. That could be high school. That could be junior high. That could be, the end of high school, getting ready for college by the time that this happens, right? So you could build a new trilogy kind of around Sydney's children. She could have a son, right, that she just didn't mention, right? Maybe the son was older, or, and maybe dad dropped him off at school and Sydney had to take the kids, right? Like, there's a million ways that you can approach this, go about it, and kind of have a workaround, so to speak, to kind of have it fit your narrative and story. So the idea that this is a launching point for a new set of films, a new trilogy, I don't think is far-fetched or crazy. Also, something I've talked about since Scream 5 is they're probably going to make as many films as possible. Like, even if they do pump out this trilogy, they're probably not going to stop there. They'll probably make 10 of these if they can, because of the simple fact that Spyglass and them bought the rights to Scream and paid, $500 million in order to acquire it. So they're probably not even anywhere close to even breaking even right now. Even after this third film, they're probably not even close to breaking even. So they're probably going to pump out another 3, 4, 5, 6, however many they can, right? And look, I'm all for it. Bring it on. The more Ghostface, the better, right? You want to go jump in a series, you want to do this, that, and the other, sure, I am all for it. As long as it's good and it's quality and it's not, people always talk about cash grab. Oh, it's a cash grab. It's a cash grab. Every movie's a cash grab. Aren't movies made to create money, to generate wealth? Like, every film is a cash grab, right? Like, so my thing is that, like, I don't necessarily look at that, but there's the blatant cash grabs, right? There's the ones that's like, okay, this was awful. There was no effort, attempt, nothing. There wasn't even a budget, right? This was like as bad as it gets. Those are, like, to me, that was a blatant cash grab. But them making 10 films under Spyglass, I'm all for it. As long as, again, they're good quality films. I didn't really like the writing and certain elements of Scream 5 and 6, but I didn't think that they were necessarily like these terrible films. Like, I didn't think that they were these clear cash grab films. I thought they were, that they were good films. I enjoy them. I watch them. I watch them again. Like, it's just, there was a lot of things that I didn't like about Scream 5 and 6, particularly with the writing and character development. But again, if you can continue to create quality and give us, at least films that are enjoyable to watch, I'm all for it, right? So this kind of being the beginning of a new era, so to speak, I'm okay. My other side of it, though, too, is obviously the beauty of Ghostface is it's not a Michael, it's not a Freddy, it's not a Jason, it's not something like that to where it's like when you end them, that's it, right? Like, you can do Scream forever, right? Like, literally every year you could pump out a new film and it totally works and it's totally fine. Why? Because, again, it's something that it's always someone different under the mask. You never know. It's the mystery. It's the whodunit. As long as they can continue to tell compelling stories, I'm all for it. But I don't want, personally, and I know some people might feel otherwise, but I personally don't want 10 more films of Sidney Prescott. I don't even necessarily want another trilogy centered around Sidney Prescott. I don't mind Sidney being the kind of catalyst in beginning, right? But I would like them eventually to build, develop, and grow characters that kind of move away from Sydney, right? Now, if you do her daughters or something like that, okay. And then, like, yeah, you could still have. I'm not saying you can't have Sydney in the films at all. I just don't want her to be the main focal point every single film because it's just like, one, how many people want her dead? Two, how many times can she just keep getting stabbed and tore up and all this stuff before she just eventually just by natural causes just dies, right? Like, it's just, there's so much that goes into it. At some point, it kind of becomes silly, right? And it kind of was feeling that way. And I know I'm not alone in that feeling, right? Like, and then even in Scream 5, it was just like they had no idea how to write Sydney. If Sydney's just kind of shows up at the end to kind of help her daughter survive in Scream 8 and 9 or something like that, then sure, right? Or maybe you get a film where, you know, Sydney's daughter doesn't tell Sydney that she's being attacked. She doesn't want her mom to get involved, right? You know, and the next installment, not this installment. Again, I think you use this installment, but that was one of the things that I loved about the Carpenter sisters, right? Was that, and particularly with Scream 6, is you had these new characters that obviously with Sam, Scream 5, writing and just acting and all that stuff was awful. I wasn't like, I understood it. I got it. I defended her a lot because I don't think it was Melissa Barrera. I think it was just the writing. I think the writing was just bad in Scream 5. And a lot of people just weren't fans of Melissa Barrera and Sam as a character. Everyone wanted Jenna Ortega and Tara. Scream 6, everyone kind of came around to, which is also why it's unfortunate that things ended the way that it ended, because it's like, man, like, Sam was just starting to get some love. Melissa Barrera was really starting to get some notoriety as Sam, and then everything happens, right? So, to me, but I like the idea of having these characters that have nothing to do with Sydney, right? That have no tie, right? Scream 6 didn't need Sydney. There wasn't a moment in that film where you were like, man, you know what this film's missing? Sydney Prescott. Like, no, it was totally fine. It was good. It worked. Made sense. Again, I have my gripes about Scream 6. There are things that I wasn't a big fan of with Scream 6, but overall, again, I thought it was a film that didn't need Sydney Prescott. And I was excited for, okay, we finally moved away from Sid. It's nothing against Nev. I love Nev, right? I mean, I grew up with Sydney. I grew up with Nev Campbell, right? So, again, I would love to see her forever, but at some point, again, it just becomes a little much. At some point, it gets a little like, all right, like, enough is enough, right? Like, we're done here, right? Like, so to me, it's just like, if you can establish new characters in this film, have Sydney kind of be the draw for this, because again, with Melissa and Tara leaving, or Melissa and Jenna leaving, right? Kind of in a position where it's like, we need that person that people will recognize and want to come watch. And it's like, okay, Nev Campbell, Sydney Prescott, boom, that works. So it's the safest route. Okay, I get it. I'll buy back in. You got me, right? But at some point, it's like, I'd like to see us kind of, again, move away, and, you know, whether it's Sydney's kids or something. I mean, again, I don't like, that was another gripe I had with Scream 5, was like tying Sam into Billy. You literally could have done that exact same movie, same plot, same everything, just not had Sam be Billy's daughter, right? Like, you didn't, like, there was nothing that was that significant about it, right? Obviously, Richie, you know, the ties, like, he wanted to kind of have Billy's daughter and switch it around, but you could have just removed that element and just had, you know, Richie be obsessed with the stab movies and wanted to make her the new Sydney, right? Boom, problem solved, right? Like, there's a million ways that you could go about it. He just wanted to replicate the Billy, you know, the Billy and Stu theme, but it's 2020, so now, you know, or 2022, whatever, right? It's 2020. Like, now, you know, it's not Billy and Stu, it's, you know, Richie and Amber, right? And you're the new Sid, like, type thing, right? Like, I just think you could have made that and didn't have to tie it in. So it's like, do you really want the tie-in again with Sydney and her children? But they've already committed to Sydney and her family and established the kids. So to me, it's just like, you might as well just try to build off of what you already created. So let's tell a convincing story, have a good Ghostface. Ghostface is supposed to be darker and supposed to be scary, a Scream film and all that stuff. Okay, fine. You got me. I'm bought in. Let's go. Right? Establish good characters. So that way you can continue to make these films. right? Character development was so lacking in Scream 5 and 6, right? Like, it was incredibly frustrating. I mean, to be fair, after Scream 96, character development kind of got worse each film, right? I mean, each film kind of had its gem, but, like Scream 2, like Mickey should have been hands down far and away the consensus best Ghostface ever. But he like wasn't in the film enough, right? I mean, he was like menacing looking, he was big, he like manipulated Sydney in ways that no one to this day has ever been able to manipulate Sydney, right? Like, there's just so many excellent qualities about Mickey that it's unfortunate that he was like only in the film for like 10 minutes and then like, oh, surprise, it's Mickey, and it's like, who? Like, like, oh, this guy, right? Like, it really didn't hit right. Right? And that was kind of the case, with just development period, right? Scream 3, like with Roman and a lot of these guys, it's just like, when you have the big reveal and you have to explain literally everything start to finish, you got to spend 10 minutes of just dialogue to explain how we got to this point. It's like you didn't do your job along the way, right? So I want good character development. I want good story. I want better writing. I'm hoping Kevin Williamson can kind of get the ship right again. So, and, start positioning yourself to move away from Sydney, right? But that's how I feel. Those are my thoughts. As always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know yours down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think yes? Got to move away from Sydney at some point? Do you think no? Like, have this trilogy, establish a new trilogy, and have Sydney be kind of the main focus throughout the trilogy. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.